Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome to Reel Me In, a movie podcast, where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, I'm gonna give it to you anyways. It's like when you're a little kid, you're bound to hit the flu, so I just compared my show to the flu. Well, I'm here to talk to you about anything, everything, and anything about movies, or whatever just like comes up on my mind. This is my very first episode, and I gotta say, I'm really excited to do this because I've been wanting to do this for a while, which leads me into who I am. My name is Chase Lee, and I will be the host of this movie podcast. And for all of those who don't know me, I am a cinephile, and a cinephile is basically someone who likes movies to a point where like it consumes their life. Um, I own almost 1,000 DVDs and Blu-rays, and I've been collecting since 2001. So you can imagine how many dates I went on in high school. So I started back in 2011, and I would post movie reviews of movies I would see over the weekend on Facebook, and I would basically give a little review and basically give my score at the very end. So I've evolved into where I would make YouTube videos, and I would make sure I was consistent every week, which I gotta admit now, I haven't been consistent lately, but what are you going to do? So I would move to video, and then eventually I did it to where I grew my YouTube channel, and I tried to just do as many as I could. And now I guess you can say we're here, podcast. So I guess for all those 3 people that have been following me since 2011, here you go. This is for you. So you're probably wondering why I named this podcast Reel Me In. Well, when I was sitting in the car, like trying to think of like a title for this, I thought to myself, hey, I'm going to do a movie podcast, and I want to name it something that's kind of clever, but something that something that hasn't been done before. So I decided to name it Reel Me In because, when people tell you information, like they're trying to fill you in on something. So I'm reel you in on something, as in movie. I know it's pretty clever. It's okay. I occasionally have smart ideas. So basically, I'm going to do this every week, and I'm just going to pick a topic, and I'm going to talk about just that topic and whatever falls on my plate within the 30 minutes of runtime. So the topic for this week is superhero movies and the movies that came out this year. And before I get into this, I apologize that my voice sounds really kind of heavy and groggy. I've been kind of having a cold lately, so it sounds shittier than my usual shitty voice, I guess. And that's another thing. This podcast is uncensored, so all of you guys that know me, if a curse word slips out, sue me. All right, so the superhero movies this year, there hasn't been that much. There's been 5 of them, but I've actually really enjoyed this year in terms of superhero movies, which is becoming my favorite genre of film. As a kid, I really liked comedy, and I really enjoyed like horror movies, and those are still 2 of my favorite genres. But what I can tell you is that superhero movies just bring that joy and entertainment factor into movies that some movies have missed in the past years. Like, it brings that cinema magic, if you will. So the superhero movies that came out this year range from Marvel to DC to graphic novels, and it's been quite a year. We have Kick-Ass 2, Iron Man 3, or as I like to call it, I was going to say something clever, but as you all know, that Iron Man 3 is not that good. Wolverine, Thor: The Dark World, and Man of Steel. Now, I'm going to give you my top 5, going from least favorite to my favorite. And I got to tell you, I really, really love Marvel. So you're probably wondering what my number 1 is. Well, you have to find out. So I'm going to start with my number 5 choice. This is really hard to say because I really, really loved the first one. The first one of this trilogy brought in, I guess, a reboot of superhero movies. Because when I was a kid, I watched two movies that, one, I was not aware of that it was a superhero movie. And the second one, I was very well aware it was a comic book movie, and I enjoyed both. The first one I didn't know was Blade. When I first saw Blade, I thought that was one of the coolest movies I've ever seen, and you gotta keep in mind I was a 10-year-old boy, so anything with blood, guts, and tits, I always thought was cool. So I saw Blade, and I thought it was fantastic. And then the one I knew was a comic book movie was X-Men. That was the very first one that I saw. And both of them really just made me like love a different set of movies, like a different genre that hasn't really been a popular thing in Hollywood until now. And so my number 5 pick is Iron Man 3. Like I said, the first one was ridiculously good, and people could argue that it is the best Marvel movie of the solo films. For me personally, I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of like me some Captain America. I don't know what it is, but I've always liked it, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel. But back to the list, I put Iron Man 3 down at number 5 because it's really hard to start because the first half of the movie is ridiculously good. If the whole movie was like that, holy shit, you would have one of the best superhero movies ever made. I love the fact that it was so grounded in reality in the first half. It was like a different movie. I was like, Marvel, what are you doing? I like what you're doing, but I'm very confused by it in a good way. But it gets to the twist. The twist in Iron Man 3 is so out there and out of the blue that I sat back. I remember specifically, I saw it with a group of people, and when that twist happened, people were shocked. Like, they didn't say anything. The twist happened, and I think I maybe heard like a cough in the upper right-hand corner, and maybe someone like was chewing on some popcorn. It was so out of the blue that no one expected it. And as you guys can tell, I'm not going to have any spoilers on this podcast. That's just not my thing. Because there are people that haven't seen it, and Iron Man 3 is a huge one. So after the twist happened in Iron Man 3, I was done. I basically sat back in my chair, and I told myself, this is not a good way to start after the Avengers. Like, this is your movie after the Avengers. It's like Marvel gave you like $100 bill, and then for Iron Man 3, they gave you a $5 bill and a bus token. That's what I felt like they gave me. And I really just did not like Iron Man 3 at all. And I also did not like the fact, this will play into Thor when I talk about it, but it followed the events of the Avengers, but it didn't really go as far as like just mentioning it. It didn't progress characters, didn't do any of that. And so for that and the twist alone, I gotta put that at number 5. It was my least favorite of the year. For number 4, I'm going to put Kick-Ass 2. I took my brother to see this, and he really never saw this movie, or he never saw the first one, excuse me. And he really liked the second one. I was like, if you like the second one, the first one is way better. Now, don't get me wrong. I really, really loved Kick-Ass 2. But there was a charm. There was like a certain thing about the first one that made it so good. And I don't know. It kind of felt like just not flat, but it felt like it lost that charm. I mean, that's the best way to put it. It was humorous. It was gory as hell. And I really love Christopher Mintz-Plasse and Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kick-Ass. I really love the cast in it. I really love the writing. But the first one was directed by Matthew Vaughn. And the second one, it was not directed by him. And I forgot the director's name, so excuse me on that. But the second one was, like I said, it just... To be honest with you, I kind of forgot about it. Okay, so that's at number 4, but it was still better than Iron Man 3. I know it's hard to say, but Kick-Ass 2 was better than Iron Man 3. All right, for my number 3 spot and my number 2 spot, I battled on this for hours. I tried to think, honestly, what was the best one? Because I already have my number 1 set. I'm going to be honest with you. I had my number one set when I saw it. And I said, there's nothing that's going to beat it. Nothing. And so for number 3, I've been switching back and forth, but I'm going to have to go with the Wolverine. The Wolverine to me, well, first of all, was way better than that shit pile box of the Origins movie. Let's all remember those fake, fantastic CGI claws. That was good. But the Wolverine, it kind of like resurged the Wolverine character in general, because it takes place after the third one, which basically means after all the events of the trilogy, like this is what the Wolverine is going through at his point in life. And I gotta tell you, I really enjoyed it. I love the first 2/3. The first 2/3 to me are like, it was like watching just Hugh Jackman like really like involved in the role like he's never been before. Because I gotta tell you, like when I saw X-Men back in the day in the year 2000, I thought to myself, like, Hugh Jackman, I've never heard of this guy, but he's going to be a household name. And I gotta tell you, after 13 years of playing this character, dude, this guy is a fucking beast. Like, he's almost in his 50s, and he's doing this workout regimen to, like, basically damage his body for our entertainment, for our gluttonous entertainment. And so for that, Hugh Jackman, I thank you, because you are one of the best characters in the Marvel universe, regardless if you're owned by Fox and not by Disney. The Wolverine, like I said, the first 2/3 are excellent. Cinematography is beautiful, and the acting is really great. Hugh Jackman, like I said, kills it. The last third gets so, what's the word? It's like not wonky, but very like cartoony. Like it was like you just like popped on Saturday morning cartoons, and like that's what happened. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about it now. But the last third of Wolverine just seemed really comic booky to me. Like, yeah, I know it's a comic book movie. It's supposed to feel that way. Well, if your if 2/3 of your movie is like felt in a really grounded reality, and then you throw it to me like a very corny and cheesy thing at the very end, it's going to feel disjointed from the entire project. So the last third I didn't really care for, but it's not something that like bothered me to a point where like I wanted to lower my grade of this film, because a lot of people really disliked the last third of the movie. I really enjoyed it, but I got to tell you, the one redeeming quality about the Wolverine, holy shit, is that end credit scene. It just blew me away. Like, Marvel's always on top of their game when it comes to the end credits. Like, they know what they're doing. It's really funny, like, after Iron Man, when Nick Fury walked out for the first time, people were just like, oh my god, that's awesome. And now it's a ritual for Marvel movies to come out and people wait until the end of the credits, or at least mid-credits and the very end. It's just funny to watch because people are like always waiting for something. That's why I always liked the Avengers for last year when they had their mid-credit scene, and then you're waiting throughout this entire credit scene that's like 10 minutes long, even though the music was fantastic. And then at the very end, it's the shawarma scene, and you're just like, I waited the whole time for that. Marvel, it's like you just kicked me in the balls and you said, there you go, have a nice day. So the Wolverine's got to be at number 3. Like I said, beautiful cinematography. I really like the story, and Hugh Jackman nails it as always. So my number 2 and my number 1 pick. All right, here's where it gets interesting. My number 2 pick has got to be Thor: The Dark World. To me, it was just so much fun to see that come after Iron Man 3 and basically recoup itself from what Iron Man 3 did to audiences, which in fact stunned me. I'll forgive Marvel if they miss every now and then, but Thor 2 really got back on track because not only was the action fantastic, I really loved the scenery, and it was directed by Alan Taylor, who has done some Game of Thrones episodes. So you can really see Game of Thrones into Thor: The Dark World. And yes, I will admit, I haven't really seen Game of Thrones, but I've seen promos and I've seen like half of the first episode. I know what the feeling is, or what the tone is. And Alan Taylor totally nails that for Thor: The Dark World. And I really thought Thor 2 was superior to its predecessor. And I thought it was a great way to continue the Marvel Universe. And I really, really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Whoa. That guy should be in more roles because he is just a fantastic actor. And Chris Hemsworth, he's Thor. He's just like Hugh Jackman. It's like, that guy's Thor. I really loved the fight scenes. I really loved the progression of the characters and the way they mention New York, and it actually affects the characters, and it progresses Loki, progresses Thor. Fantastic overall. Number one's got to go to Man of Steel. I thought it was better than the original. So yeah, put your hate comments up. Let's have a battle. I thought it was just, there are problems with it. I will admit that. I didn't like the fact that him and Lois, fell in love so quickly. I didn't like some of the dialogue. But other than that, I really enjoy it for the most part. The visual effects are stunning. The fight sequences are amazing. And they're what we've been craving for, two aliens that actually fight on Earth. Versus the first one where it's like, was it pillow fights? Is that what they're doing for the first one? Yeah, whatever. So anyways, for Man of Steel, it's just all around a good movie. Like I said, there's some problems with it, but overall it is my favorite superhero movie of the year. Cinematography is great. The music, Hans Zimmer, come on. He did the Batman trilogy. This guy's amazing. The acting was good all around. Like I said, I didn't really care for Lois Lane, like Amy Adams as Lois Lane or whatever. But other than the dialogue and the love between them, I thought it was a fantastic movie. I thought it was a fantastic superhero movie and way better than the original. So that's my list. Iron Man 3 is at number 5. Kick-Ass 2 is number 4. Wolverine's at number 3. Thor: The Dark World is at number 2. And for my number 1 pick of the year, Man of Steel. So I want to ask you guys, what are your favorite superhero movies of the year? Comment below and let me know, because I would like to know what you guys thought, because I know for a fact Man of Steel is not on everyone's favorites list, and I'm totally fine with that. I will stand my ground always. So that pretty much wraps up the subject for this podcast, superhero-wise. I was just going to basically talk about this year, and the ones coming up from Marvel are Captain America Winter Soldier for next April, and then Guardians of the Galaxy for next August. For DC, of course, the next one's Batman vs. Superman, and we got the new X-Men movie coming out next year, we got the new Amazing Spider-Man coming out next year. So there's a lot of superhero movies to be coming out, but I would like to know what are some of you guys' favorite superhero movies in general. I'm very curious to see how you guys answer that, because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't need to go into depth, but some of my favorites are X-Men 2, Spider-Man 2, the first X-Men, Blade 2, the Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, the new Man of Steel. So there's a lot that I like, but I like to know what you guys like. So yeah, just comment below and let me know about that, and I cannot wait to read them. So for this section, I'm going to talk about the box office results for this week, as well as the Blu-ray and DVD releases and what came out in theaters. So let's get started. For the movies that came out this week, actually, ironically, Man of Steel came out. And I bought the Steelbook of it, and it's fantastic on Blu-ray. I really highly suggest it. Even if you didn't really like it, I would suggest renting it on Blu-ray and give it another shot, because I think that you'll like it a lot better. Francis Ha came out. I saw that a while back. Didn't really care for it. It was a black and white film. Prince Avalanche with Emile Hirsch and Paul Rudd came out. Turbo came out, the animated snail movie. Yeah. Can you imagine pitching that to executives? Hey, let's make an animated snail movie. Yeah. I'll give you the money for that. And then Dexter Season 8 also came out this week. I will be picking that up shortly, as is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But this is a movie podcast, not a television podcast. So moving on to what came out this week, this past Friday, only one movie came out. And that would be Best Man Holiday. This is a sequel to Best Man that came out in 1999. And believe it or not, they actually got all of the actors back. And I was really astonished that they came back after what is that, 14 years? But then I looked at the roster, and they all the actors and actresses totally don't have anything to do with their lives. So, I mean, the studios probably called them up and they're just like, hey, man, we're going to give you money to act in the movie again. They're just like, oh, my God, money? I haven't seen that in like 3 years. So, yeah, Terrence Howard's in it. Taye Diggs is in it. Nia Long, like a bunch of actors and actresses that were really popular in the 90s. Hence why I came out in the 90s. So, let's get to the box office results for this week. And I gotta say, I'm a little bit shocked on how well Best Man Holiday did. So let's start. We're going to do the top 5 every week. So let's go with number 5. So for number 5, we have Bad Grandpa. It came in 5th place with $7 million. That movie is up to $90 million. I don't know if you know this, but the Jackass movies are really cheap to make. And Johnny Knoxville is one hell of a businessman. I don't care what you say about the guy or what about his movies. He knows how to make a movie cheap and how to sell it and basically get a lot of money. Like, he's a very good salesperson, and I kind of idolize him for that because, like I said, like, he has his own production company, which is Dick House, which is like one of the funniest logos I've ever seen. It's basically a rooster like that comes up on the screen and just like it just like yells out this like weird non-rooster like sound, and then it has Dick House and it has a rainbow that goes over it. It's hilarious. I really love that production company. So they're up to $90 million, and that's pretty good for a movie that cost $15 million. Don't know about you, but that's some profit. So for number 4, we have Freebirds, and it made $8.3 million. Freebirds is an animation movie done by Real Effects, who usually do real effects for other movies, but they decided to do their own movie. And I heard bad things. I didn't see it, but it's kind of tanking. Their budget was $55 million, and I think they're up to like 42 right now. It's not looking good. My rule of thumb is always you have to double the box office, because in the end, the theaters take a third out of the whole profit gross, and you have to account for marketing. That's not in the production budget. So that's why you always got to double it. That's just my rule of thumb. So for number 3, we have Las Vegas. And that made $8.8 million. And I never saw that one either, but it's got, legends like Robert De Niro, Kevin Kline, Morgan Freeman, Michael Douglas. I'm sure it's a fun time, and I'll check it out eventually. But the movie's up to, I think, like 40-something million, and its budget was like 30-something. So, I mean, it's got about like 20 more to go to like break even. It's not really good. So number 2 and number 1. Thor 2 came out last weekend. Best Man Holiday came out this past Friday. Who do you think did better? Of course Thor did better. Come on. You really think a sequel that was 14 years old was going to beat a superhero movie? Come on. You're dreaming. Number 2 is Best Man Holiday, and it actually made $30 million its opening weekend. That's crazy. Who saw that besides like every black grandmother and their son in America? Like, that's it. Are you kidding me? Its budget was seriously like $20 million. Like, they have almost recouped their budget with marketing. It just astounds me. And then number 1 was Thor 2. But last weekend it made $80 million on a $170 million budget. It's not bad for an opening. But it made $38 million this weekend. So you do realize, if my math corrects me, because I'm terrible at math, Best Man Holiday was only $8 million behind Thor 2. It almost beat it. That's crazy. And now my voice just cracks. So now you guys get to hear me sound like a little boy. But Thor 2 only made $38 million. And right now, worldwide, it's at $479. So with a $170 million budget, like I said, double it, take a third away, it's already made profit, and it's still got a long way to go. So congrats, Thor 2. I really loved you, so thank God you're doing well. Hey, where's Ender's Game at? Hey, I'm looking at my list right here. Oh, wait, it's not on there because it sucks. Okay, listen. If you're going to make a $110 million movie and it only makes $30 million, you got to look at yourself in the face, in the mirror every single day and go, what did I do wrong? I don't know. Maybe you marketed a movie that didn't look good at all. Ender's Game's trailers looked so generic and so just bland. If you didn't read the book like me, then it's really hard to get into a trailer that just doesn't look good. And on top of that, the author of the book that's based on says, he basically is against gay marriage. So that, I don't think that really affected it, but I think it was the fact of that and like the trailer. That thing is taking hardcore. Like I said, budget was like 110. It's only made like 55 so far. So maybe the foreign box office will help it, but I can't really guarantee anything. But that is your box office for the week for the top 5. I'm really glad Thor is doing fantastic. I just really want to thank everyone that has listened for this week of Reel Me In, for this first episode, the pilot, if you will, of the superhero movies of this year, 2013. So, like I said, I want you guys to comment below and let me know what your favorite ones are. And, let's just have a little discussion. So I'm going to be doing this every single week at 8 Central Time, which is 9 p.m. East Coast and should be 6 p.m. West Coast. If you guys like what you hear, then go ahead and please follow me on Spreaker here. And my Facebook page is facebook.com/Real Reviews with Chase Lee. Twitter is @RealChaseLee. And my YouTube account is Shabutnik75. Have yet to change it. It's capital SHBOOTNIK 75 as in the number. And like I said, you guys can just tune in every Sunday and we will discuss movies. Eventually, I'm going to get a hang of this and I'm going to add music as suggested by my girlfriend. And I will add sound effects and I will get better quality audio and I will add guests. But in order for this show to continue, I need feedback from you guys. I need to make sure what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right and what could be improved on, because ultimately this podcast is for you guys. I like to discuss movies with you. So if you could tell me what I'm doing to make it better, then please let me know and I would really appreciate it. So follow me on all the social media sites as stated. And I am Chase Lee and you have been listening to Reel Me In, and I will see you guys next week when I reel you in with more information. Don't worry, I'll work on the outro. See you guys later.